Hey, it's Alois here. I watched Beetlejuice in theaters yesterday, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. I covered Beetlejuice before, months ago, and so I was pretty excited for this movie. This and Wicked are probably my two most anticipated movies for the remaining year. And so yeah, the general consensus for me regarding Beetlejuice is that this is a very fun movie. It'll take you for a wacky ride. And the first thing that I want to point out is actually not from the movie itself, but from the Beetlejuice trailer. In one of the trailers, there's this particular shot of an airplane crashing into the ocean. And I remember making a statement, and the public in general also made a statement that the CGI looks really bad in that particular sequence. But now that I've watched the movie, it completely makes sense now why that particular sequence looks the way that it is. And so they kind of bamboozled all of us. But once you watch the movie, you'll understand why it looks the way it looks. And I thought it was kind of funny when I saw that particular scene taking place. The light bulbs just turned on in my head. So yeah, this is a really fun movie, and I would say majority of the film is handled really well, and for the most part, the visual and practical effects are great. Like as we've discussed in the previous Beetlejuice video, a lot of this stuff was actually practical and handmade, and you can definitely feel that through the screen. Just the way how people like Bob interact with the world does feel actually physical and real. And in interviews, like Jenna Ortega and the rest of the cast were just saying like how most of the stuff was practical and how that helped with the performance a lot, and just how much more fun it made everything be. So kudos to the production team, like all the monsters looked great, the makeup and costume designs were all amazing, and yeah, you can just tell that a lot of the stuff is practical. However, there are some green screens, and there is this one particular sequence where the green screen is painfully obvious, so much so that I'm pretty sure I actually giggled out loud in the theaters when I saw that shot. You'll probably know it when you see it, but besides that, the green screens were all great. Going into this, I was a little worried as to how Jenna Ortega was gonna separate this Astrid Deeds role from her Wednesday role, because these two characters are pretty similar in the sense that they are outcasted teenage girls. But I'm happy to report that Astrid Deeds is, in fact, pretty different from Wednesday, even though they share a good amount of similarities. I'm just really happy that Jenna made this character unique. Jenna's performance in this movie is great, and seeing her on the big screen for the first time, and also Winona Ryder and the rest of the cast, was just awesome. Jenna is so beautiful. It was a joy to see her on such a big screen, and the costumes and clothes that she gets to wear in this movie are very flavorful and just a treat to observe. The stars of the show, however, I would definitely have to say are Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder for sure, and then Jenna after them, and then Willem Dafoe. Winona Ryder, this is also my first time seeing her on the big screen, and something about being able to see her performance and acting on a gigantic screen makes me appreciate her performances and subtle expressions and just amazing performance even more. She was so good in Stranger Things, and she's great here as well. Once again, Winona is also playing the mother archetype here, but she also makes an effort to distinguish this role, Lydia, to her Joyce role in Stranger Things, and that's fantastic. Lydia is still very much an outcast, just like her daughter, and so I love how weird both of them are. And Winona just plays Lydia so empathetically. You can't help but feel bad whenever Jenna or Astrid talks back at Winona, because she's just so innocent in this movie. And her design is great. I love her makeup and the costumes that she wears. And when she finally gets back with Beetlejuice and their dynamic starts again, it's like fireworks. Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton and Lydia and Beetlejuice have such great chemistry, and Michael Keaton pleasantly surprised me. I wasn't the biggest fan of Beetlejuice, the original film. I thought it was good, but not great. I thought it was unique and special and campy, but it wasn't super memorable to me. But man, I really have to say that the way Michael Keaton plays Beetlejuice this time around in this movie is, to me, such a better interpretation. I always felt that the original Beetlejuice was a bit perverted, and that's kind of what he's supposed to be. They toned that down a lot more in this movie, and the way I would describe Beetlejuice in this movie is just whimsical, witty, and resourceful, and super funny. I love Beetlejuice in this film much more than the original counterpart, even though they're the same character. And Michael Keaton's embodiment of Beetlejuice feels so youthful, even though he's in his like 50s or 60s. I just love it. I love the way he talks, like, you know, like, the juice is loose. That's a horrible impression, but you know, I love his accent and mannerisms. This whole movie is just campy and has a very distinct flavor that, which I will say, takes a little bit to get used to. The first 20 to 30 minutes of this film are pretty darn slow because they have to set up a lot of things in this movie. And that's one of the things that really surprised me, is that there is actually so much going on in this movie. I'm not even kidding you, I believe there are like 4 or 5 consecutive plot lines going on in this movie. You'll be following one group of characters and then suddenly it'll switch to another group of characters and then to another group of characters and then to another group of characters. There's a lot going on in this movie, and that's when it's at its best. I feel like the middle chunk is so engaging and I lost track of time pretty much in the middle part. It's so good, it's so fun, it captivates you truly. But as I mentioned, the first act is pretty darn slow. But if you stick with it and just give yourself time to adjust to this wacky world and whimsical flavoring, then by the 30-minute mark or 40-minute mark, you'll be fully into the movie. In terms of plot and story, it's not necessarily a groundbreaking movie. It's pretty generic, honestly. There are a few quote-unquote twists that you can see coming from a mile away. A good amount of stuff in this movie is predictable, but I'm happy to also say that a lot of stuff that happens in this movie is also unpredictable, because that's what, you know, Beetlejuice is supposed to kind of be, this weird, unpredictable ride. So I'm glad that they surprised me a good amount of times in this film. The set designs are great, the sound designs are great. The cinematography is a little too wacky at times. There are some shots in this movie where I feel like they're doing too much, and sometimes that disorients you, but for the most part, the cinematography is creative and dynamic and not too overbearing. Some shots, though, make me feel dizzy. In my opinion, Justin Theroux and Catherine O'Hara were good in this movie, but I definitely prefer the other characters, and I feel like if I had to pinpoint some things that didn't necessarily work for me, it would be Catherine O'Hara and Justin Theroux's characters. They do serve purposes, but I just prefer watching the other characters. I feel like they're more fun and have more things to do. Like Monica Bellucci's character and Willem Dafoe's character. They are so good. Willem Dafoe is like an actor pretending to be an undercover cop. He has that assistant that's always holding up cue cards for him to read. It's so fun. This movie is so fun. And then Monica Bellucci is just sucking people's souls. Or sorry, sucking demons' souls, or whatever the dead people are. She's just sucking everyone up. She's like the main antagonist of this film. And yeah, she adds a whole other wrench to this already complicated story. But like, in a good way. There's a lot of substance here, which might be too much for some people. But to me, I just loved the back and forth. I think they handled it pretty well. It wasn't overbearing. It was just fun. And chaotic at times, but that's what Beetlejuice is supposed to be. I think Bob also deserves a shout out. He was a real one. He, spoiler alert, died to protect Beetlejuice from Dolores. And just in general, Bob was a true friend who was looking out for Beetlejuice pretty much all the way throughout the movie. Fly high, Bob. We don't deserve you. I liked the storyline with Astrid, Lydia, and I forgot what his name was, but Astrid's father and Lydia's husband. I thought that was cute and added an extra layer of depth for both of these characters. As for the other guy, Astrid's love interest, I forgot his name, but I thought he was okay. I think that his performance was actually quite decent, but the character itself was just kinda meh. He more than anything served as a plot device to get Astrid and Lydia to the other realm, the realm of the dead. And I guess in that sense he served his purpose, but I just wished there was a little more substance and charm to his character. Yeah, I just wish he had a little bit more depth to him. The performance was good though. I guess it's time to talk about the ending, which major spoilers by the way. The ending was rather abrupt and rushed. Astrid literally just falls in love in an instant with that guy who we don't even know the name of, and then she gives birth to a little Beetlejuice who kills both of the surgeons or doctors in the operating room. And then it shows Lydia waking up from that supposed dream with Beetlejuice beside her, but then she wakes up from that dream again, if it even was a dream, but now the spot beside her is empty, supposedly. Are you confused? Because that's how I felt as well when I watched that ending. Yeah, just so much time passed. Like, they just showcased Astrid just falling in love at first sight with that guy who we don't even know the name of, and we saw them getting married abruptly and then her giving birth abruptly. It was just so fast-paced and chaotic, which I guess lines up with the rest of the movie and its chaotic energy, but this one felt a little too abrupt. I think what they're going for is that they're trying to set up a potential sequel and installment in this franchise, although I'm not sure if that's the best idea, because I really liked the idea of a second Beetlejuice movie, because I think the original one left so much room for interpretation and expansion. So Beetlejuice, I was actually really up for it because there was just so much more to explore. A third Beetlejuice movie though, I feel like would be pushing it a little bit, because I'm not sure where they could go with this story anymore. But if they are planning on making another movie, then I hope they do it quick, because this cast is not getting any younger, even though they look great for their age. But I'm just saying, time is ticking. And yeah, I watched Beetlejuice on my own, which I think was a bit of a bummer, because after watching the movie and realizing how fun it is, I really wished I got to watch it with someone else. I think in total, it was only me and a couple in our specific theater hall. So that was a bit sad to see that not many people are interested in this movie. Although to be fair, it was a morning slot, so not that many people were probably awake at that time. But I just wanted to see this movie as soon as possible. And yeah, I would definitely watch Beetlejuice again. Like, it's actually really fun, and it pleasantly surprised me. So if you're gonna watch this movie, bring a group of friends along. Just bring as many people as you can. The more, the better, because this is such a blast. It's not perfect, but it's awesome. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day.